What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another Monday night edition. And we have two games. So check out on the channel. We have two videos here, one for each game. Um, I'm recording this Sunday night, but just kind of reflecting on my breakdown and kind of my build. I was really happy. And if you got a chance to listen to this Sunday night breakdown, hopefully you landed on a lineup similar to mine. I used all three KC. A Tyreek Hill got, robbed of a touchdown that they just didn't review. The chalk, optimizer line looked like it was like going lock Mahomes at captain and then Patrick over Butker, which, I will admit that, Butker's performance is kind of an outlier, just due to the fact that Casey normally scores in those situations more often than kicking field goals. But I think you can also say the same for Tim Patrick, having four catches and two of them be, touchdowns being an outlier performance as well. So I liked our process. I think, targeting, the highest the best offense in the league, perhaps, and targeting their skill players was the route to go. So again, thanks a lot for the support. We have two games, a 4 o'clock and a late night one. So let's get into the slate. We have the Washington football team and Pittsburgh. So there is still some injury news. James Conner is likely going to be activated, but not actually like going to be active for the game. Kind of bizarre, but we'll see. You can kind of monitor that tomorrow if something happens to change. But you can see here the Steelers are -7. Obviously, we know they're one of the best teams in the league. I don't know. The over under of 43.5 is insane. It's likely thinking that Washington's only going to score a touchdown or two. So, and I'm kind of in that boat. So let's start on the Pittsburgh side. Big Ben, I think obviously is going to be one of the most popular plays on the slate. I think quarterbacks just usually are. I think where this slate gets really interesting on the Pittsburgh side is, the difference in prices for the receivers. Deontay Johnson, Claypool, and Smith-Schuster. We saw against Baltimore, I think all three of them got there. All three of them got to double digits. Schuster got the really short touchdown. They were giving him the ball a lot and really, I think Zach Keats, one of our other coaches, made it a good line in his breakdown when he talked about the Steelers. Is like Schuster is like the chain mover, and when it's 3rd and 4, they're looking at him to short. Claypool obviously has big play potential, and so does Deontay Johnson, is super fast. And so I think all three are in play. I don't see a big difference between one or the other. I think it's going to come down to price, and if you can fit two of them in, that's great. I think more, are people going to play Benny Snell Jr. With Connor likely not playing? So in the last game, just to kind of look at, some people were worried about McFarland or what was Snell going to look like. So 16 attempts, 60 yards. He could easily had a touchdown when Smith-Schuster caught that 1-yard touchdown. And also he could have, I don't know. I think overall, like the game script was definitely in their favor for the most part for this type of game. Baltimore actually, obviously has a pretty good run defense. He caught 3 balls out of the backfield. That was what I wasn't really expecting on 4 targets. So, and I think you see a likely similar performance. Well, I'll get down to McFarland at the bottom, but he was okay, but not really worth, not really what we thought we were getting out of him. So I think Claypool, Smith-Schuster, and Deontay Johnson. I think you get one of them in Snell, honestly. Again, we'll get to the Washington side, but obviously I'm more on Pitt here. I do think the Steelers defense, and again, it's hard to convince me to play defenses, but I think, without a defensive touchdown last game, they didn't do as well, but, they held Jacksonville to 3 points, Cincinnati to 10. I just think like what's a probable projection here is like 8 to 10 still, even with sacks and a couple interceptions and not that many points given up. I think if you can get to Ebron, you're getting a lot more upside. Ebron has been just like Roethlisberger's favorite target lately, just trying to get him the ball. I think he's had double-digit points in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, So 5 of the last 6 games, 11 targets last game. They like to throw the ball. That's where this all becomes really hard, because you're like going to play Roethlisberger, but you also want to play 2 of the receivers. You also want to play Snell. Steelers D, Boswell is doubtful, so it looks like we're getting a backup kicker here, which kicker season is my season usually. But we'll get into those guys when we get to the builds. But McFarland Jr., we kind of thought he was going to get more. 3 carries on 3 carries. Well, he's getting 3 carries the other games when Connor was playing, so we thought we'd see more of an increase. I don't know. He right here, it says Snell played 71% of the snaps. It's just tough to know why would that change this week? Unless they didn't like what Snell did, but he played really well. Vance McDonald is always just like a flyer. I think he might even had a couple targets last game. Oh, he did catch 1 pass for 2 yards. 1 target. He's not getting 0 usually. 600. Could get a touchdown, but. All right, let's just flash over to the Washington side, and then we'll get to the actual builds to kind of what we want to look at. Gibson has been a freak. It's really, obviously on Thanksgiving, the 39-point performance. A lot of people went Duke Johnson. Gibson just ripped up the Cowboys. Well, I don't think it's going to be that easy here, even though, again, he's had all but 2 games this year where he had double digits. I don't think. Let's see how I want to put this. I think he probably outscores one of the 3 receivers. I don't think he outscores all 3. I don't, which one is it going to be? That I don't know. I still think he's probably like 10 to 12. If he scores a touchdown, maybe a little bit more than that. I just think, as we saw the Steelers do to obviously a horrible Ravens offense without Lamar Jackson, but their defense all year has been, pretty good. Not that great on the ground lately with some injuries, but I don't know. I think I'm not sold on paying 10,000 here for Gibson when I just want more Steelers pieces. And Alex Smith is a pass for me too. It's like one of the worst possible matchups. And yeah, I just not for me here. Scary Terry, 8,800, super cheap for the talent. And I think if anybody's going to do anything offensively, it's going to be him for Washington. But I don't know. He's questionable too. So I think he's expected to play. But if he doesn't, that obviously opens up some other things. So just you can get my general tone here that I'm not super excited about anybody on Washington up here, because that means that I'm giving up somebody for Pittsburgh, kind of like KC tonight. But I mean, I get it. If you want a couple guys on both sides of the ball, I totally get that. McKissick, I don't think his production was ever going to be sustainable. I don't think he's going to get 7, 8, 9 catches, 6 catches, 7 catches every week. So I think what you're seeing here is regression that will probably flatten out. He might be a little bit better than those low floor games, but I don't think you're going to see the 15 points just because he's catching 6, 7 balls be a consistent thing the rest of the year. Cam Sims, Logan Thomas, just not great. Inman, and this is what is kind of too bad too, is that all these receivers, this is who I thought was going to get more, run the last game, and it didn't happen. If for some reason, McLaren is out, then you're going to be looking at, well, you're not going to probably want to pay for him. He wasn't even targeted last game. Obviously, they didn't need to run the ball or pass the ball. Then you get down to Inman, who also has been like totally hit or miss. So it's kind of like, I don't know, like how can you get behind this passing game to the receivers for Alex Smith be other than McLaren? So obviously we're going to have to play somebody here. Maybe you go kicker. Peyton Barber, I think, has been getting some touches. Yeah, I mean, he's probably the best value of the slate, just that he's not going to get 0. And he's him or Vance McDonald probably, unless you go back to McFarland, hoping that he gets a little bit more action. Isaiah Wright, I don't know. With Sims coming back, his role just kind of disappeared. But it's just I don't love Washington. That's all I have to say. It's tough. All right, let's get into some builds. So let's just say you captain Benny Snell. Okay, it's not my favorite thing to do. I'd rather captain quarterback or receiver, usually just with PPR. Let's say I want Roethlisberger. I want, and then I'm also going to try to fit in 2 of these receivers. Look, I still have 7,000 left in salary. Deontay Johnson, and say I go with Schuster. It's still doable. Like, honestly, you could almost fit in Claypool if you went and played Vance McDonald as. Oh no, you can't play. Sorry, you can't play all. We need Washington, but realistically, maybe you go to Ebron here, and then you fit in Hopkins. Like, and then if you want instead to use someone like Roethlisberger in the captain slot, again, I'm not always about just stacking one side of the ball, because obviously half this game is going to be played by Washington. But I think if you play one of them, you go Gibson. That would be my choice. And then if you have a build like this, then you get back to Benny Snell, and now you still have some decent correlation of Roethlisberger with Schuster. And then obviously if you have Snell up there, you even have a little bit more salary to work with. Say you want to go Steelers D, which I think is definitely viable here. And then you can get down to Peyton Barber, as your last one in. And then if you wanted here, you could actually go back and go up to Deontay Johnson instead. So again, a lot of different builds here. I think I totally get wanting some Washington, just because, like I said, they're going to have the ball half the time. I get it. It just, I just don't think they're going to, accumulate many DFS points other than maybe Gibson or McLaren. So I think, and I guess $1,200, if McLaren gets you somewhere that you like a lot more than Gibson, then I think he is certainly in play too. He's like the only receiver I feel any confidence in on the Washington side of the ball. So hopefully this little breakdown helps you get your lineups ready for 4 o'clock on Monday. So thanks for listening. See ya.